outside and then go past the vendors and back up the other stairs. There's some snacks and things like that. But please come back.
Okay. So I guess now we're time just changed by 10 minutes, so we've moved forward. So Joe Hickey's supposed to be calling in now, but I'm not sure we got the right information to him in time. So I'm going to talk about standards and build tools, and this sort of just a general topic. So from the workshop from last year, we had a couple of things excuse me, that we were working as technology, next generation technology. So one of them was increasing the message space, software bus network, multi-core, modeling, real-time Linux, partitioning, electronic data sheets, OSAL and PSP layering, and checkpoint restart, and the CMake build environment. So the things that are starred are actually made good progress on. I do know that JSC has some checkpoint restart code. I'm not sure where that stands, but they've done. Okay, so maybe not. So it doesn't have a star. So that was something that folks were looking for, but we don't have that yet. So you'll hear a little bit about all these things today, where we stand and where we're going. First thing on my list was this tools inventory. This I put together early this morning from a bunch of emails that folks sending. I was waiting the last minute to try to get them in there, so there's going to be a couple holes in here. So we have performance monitoring tools. The idea, and I think this also exists for apps and other things, about what is the tool, what's its description, and who's the point of contact for, just so you know it's out there. It doesn't necessarily mean it's open source, but you can probably get it through some user agreement. Most of them are open source, just haven't been published or completely gone through the process. There's two performance tools out there. This is the JSC Java version that I'm looking at. Kevin McClooney is the contact. There's a command and data dictionary viewer, which goes with the CFS command and data dictionary tool that JSC has. It uses XML formats to define the packets and lots of other ancillary or metadata. It's even like pin numbers and all kinds of stuff that go into spreadsheets. The idea there is at some point, I think they're maybe already there, is to pull in the EDS and actually use that as the source code to be able to populate these data sheets that then, is built into the tools to generate the ground system databases and all kinds of other artifacts for the system.
Actually, can I ask
Sure.
to the group? I'm curious, has Performance Monitor, have a lot of people used that? Are people familiar? See some oh, good. Okay. Just curious of the number of people that are, since it's delivered and used, but it's a very effective tool.
Yeah, it's a great tool. As a matter of fact, at CDR or any of your design reviews, you should present the output of that about what your performance is and what your margins are and how you're going to fit on that processor. It's a requirement for critical design reviews.
Yeah, that produces nice pie charts for PowerPoint presentation.
Very manager-friendly pie charts. Which is great. The presentation is a lot. And then all the detail, us real engineers need. There's a Eds Parser that Joe Hickey has that goes through and it reads the swaths and presents the information and validates that the EDS is correct. There's a Cosmos database generator script. Currently, that's sort of a tool out there by itself. It parses the oxygen documentation to generate the header and command and telemetry databases. So yet another way of solving that problem, which is good. It depends what you're trying to do. There's this Cheetah app template, generates application templates. So when you're creating a new application, it's very nice to have a template you're working to. So JSC has one, and our Beth up there, they have a version of it that generates an application with all the boilerplate. with the correct calls and like a no-op command and sort of the generic stuff. And usually in there it's like, put your code here. So that's very easy to get started. And the app runs. It doesn't do anything because you haven't put your code here yet, but it's very, very handy, these kind of things. Other than it will respond to commands and it will execute. And the Hammers company has this virtual Sap Simulator, which is similar to one of the next ones I'll get to, JSC's trick environment. It has a OSAL and PSP, and it allows the flight software to run in a virtual environment where you can stimulate all the inputs, run faster in real time, pause, and all those kind of useful things in a simulated satellite environment. Now, I think that's something that you have to buy from Hammers, which is fine. If it has value to your project, that's great. There's another one, the CFS embedded within Trick, and that's very similar in that it has an abstraction layer, and the CFS code runs on top of it, and you can run it faster than real time. You do Monte Carlo runs through it, and you can pause and do all that kind of stuff. So very handy. I'm not sure if that's open.
It is in the process of open. I have it. It's been actively upgraded this year to the current Trick, current CFS,
And Trick is open, right?
Trick is already open. CFS is open, but getting both open, we're still having to go through the process. But by the end of the year, that one should be open.
Which is great. So if you have a CubeSat or something like that, it's very handy to run through. Just because it's a CubeSat doesn't mean it doesn't have to work. Right. People want them to work, so here's a way of simulating a lot of the environmental, orbits and all that kind of stuff. Very similar to the Hammers virtual sat. So other tool, I don't know what the acronym means because I just grabbed it from the email, which is a system configurator, model integration. I guess it captures and distributes mission information. So I don't know much more about it. I need to update, get more detailed as far as their descriptions are concerned. Ames has their glue code or SIL. That's their version of it. We're trying to make those one and the same with the Goddard version, some of the changes. The company, I guess it's that makes Simulink has actually been working and folding in changes to make these tools work better as far as their tools are concerned, which is very good. It means they see the value of making something, CFS and compliant within their proprietary tool chains. Ames has an aerospace library, which is a bunch of Simulink block sets for commonly used items. I don't know if that's something that would be open source. That might be an ITAR kind of thing when you're talking about orbital characteristics and the mathematics associated with that. There's a tool that builds the RTS and ATS tables. This is an area that's probably lacking. Like Goddard missions are always, they come up with their own versions, and they're either associated with the ITOS ground system or the assist ground system. So we'd really like to push to have some more open source versions of how do you manage tables, how do you create tables and tools in that area. So here's one that does the relative time sequence and absolute time sequences. And there's a contact for that.
That gets back in. I mean, I'll have a sectional and ground system and all kits, but it gets into the whole database management and how we release them.
Right.
Because that ties into needing that as an input. So that's another problem I guess we got to solve. So if we have Cosmos open for everybody, but we probably we must have a dozen versions of the Cosmos database probably floating out there. And whether we merge on one and then somebody can build it. Or the EDS might be the solution.
And I'll get to that
Okay.
in a little bit. There's some work in that area as well. And there's another table that we use all the time. It's just the schedule itself. What rates the apps run, what's the relationship to their schedule. And here's a tool that does that Lorraine and those folks created.
That is actually integrated in with the CCDD tool as well.
Okay.
So that's not a separate thing.
Might be nice if it was, but
Lightweight.
it's lightweight. And Goddard has some versions of those. And again, these things, to get out there in the community, they would have to go through the open source product process because they are code that was developed and has to make sure we didn't steal anybody else's stuff or whatever. You get the lawyers involved, which you got to do. I thought I'd throw this in there. This is Andrew Lovelace at JSC is working on a time-triggered architecture scheduler to pull in the app scheduler with time-triggered networks. Like for JSC, it's the TTGG. But it could be any of those time-triggered. There's time-triggered spacewire as well. So pulling those kind of things together so that the I/O I/O at the network layer is tied into your schedule, so that the system is completely deterministic, which is very useful for Class A cert. So if you want to help with that, get in touch with Andrew. And there's excuse me, Red Canyon has a version of an Eclipse CFS IDE. I didn't have much more information on it than that, but that's how they do their development. So it's point and click, way modern engineers that like to get away from the command line. I guess I didn't get the bottom. So there's a lot more stuff. This is all I got back. I sent out the email about a week ago, and this is what I got back from that, and it's incomplete. Hammer's company has a bunch of more stuff, but they have to go through their legal to be able to release it. The idea is that these tables will go on the open source website that hopefully Dave will have a link to, or somebody will have a link to, that went live last week. We'll put all this kind of stuff out there so people know that it exists, and here's who you contact if you want more information or want to know how you can collaborate. So if you have any more stuff out there, just send me an email and I'll add it to this list, and we'll keep the website updated.
Or if there's anything you want to mention now, if there's something out there that somebody wants to mention.
Yeah, but it won't be captured because I won't remember it, so you have to send me an email. Okay. No, so now we're going to go into this next thing. We presented this last year, but it's matured considerably since then. So the namespace for CFS. There's currently an issue with that when you try to scale. Currently, we're limited because we use CCSCS space packets. They're limited by this the application identifier that's in the primary header.